Hello, Phil here from Wings of Pegasus and welcome to another analysis video. If you enjoy this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe. On the agenda tonight, we have Prince and he's going to be playing Through the Ride, and this is coming from around 2002, I believe, so let's get Prince up on screen and see how he gets on.
Sheila, come on. You got the time, baby. I got the ride, oh yes. You got the time, little girl. I got the ride, oh yes, yes. Where I wanna go, keep you shown up satisfied. If you wanna take the shortcut, I know the way. If you wanna take the shortcut, baby, I know the way. If you'd rather just stop on over to my hotel room, we can get this thing straight. You're gonna be looking for a good time. I'm gonna be trying to read. You're gonna be looking for a good time, little girl. This brother here, he just gonna be trying to read. I ain't trying to give you what you want, baby. I'm not trying to give you what you want, little. Oh my, I ain't trying to give you what you want. I'm trying to give you what you need. Turn up, y'all.
I'm just going to jump in here. I don't really want to interrupt it, but the link's going to be in the description below so you guys can check it out without me interrupting it, because the tone that he's now got is absolutely insane. It's such a cool tone, but getting into the part of the track where we started out, dynamically, it is so well put together in the way that Prince is playing this classic blues in terms of giving that vocal melody, but then putting those response lines from the guitar in between those vocals. And when we start off, it is so well played by the band because it's so subtle. The bass that's in there is so well played, it's so solid, but they're all taking so much attention just to bring it all down so that Prince can just have that talking vocal over the mic. And I think this is one of those tracks that maybe you'll get more out of it vocally if you're a female, and maybe not so much the guys, depending on what you're into. But certainly the guitar, all the guys can get into. He does have a bit of overdrive on that sound, but he's certainly using a lot of the whammy bar and a lot of the wah-wah pedal here that's really subtly thrown in there. And it's always interesting to watch a guitarist when they are playing with a wah-wah pedal, because they all tend to have something about their person that gives it away that they're using that wah-wah and when they're opening and closing. And Prince just tends to kind of throw his mouth off to one side when he is playing with the wah-wah, and a lot of players do the wah-wah mouth when they go wah-wah-wah when they're playing. And it's something to look out for, especially down at the bottom end of the guitar, the way that he's doing his standard blues scale but pentatonics as well, and a lot of semitones in here that he throws together quickly with that wah-wah, and it just gives it a really cool sound. And I think because Prince played so many different styles but also so many different instruments, it means that hearing him just in this classic blues setting was rare for the mainstream, because you could only hear his hits that had some funk in there and had elements of blues, but also the fact that he was in the pop mainstream. A lot of his stuff would just be on mainstream radio, and he got a lot of coverage from that. Whereas I think from a guitarist perspective, hearing him play blues is a really great representation of where he was on the guitar with all of the lines that he's thrown together, because everyone tends to judge lead guitarists in blues and jazz, but mostly really blues and rock. And I have a few videos on Prince already on the channel, so I don't want to oversaturate it too much, but I think it's important to put a spotlight on his playing under these circumstances in terms of just playing the blues and see what he puts together, because it's so different to maybe the style of playing that people might associate him with in those more mainstream pop tracks. But also the fact that on this channel I first featured him on the George Harrison Rock and Roll Hall of Fame induction, While My Guitar Gently Weeps. Everyone will know that performance, and I had a slight issue with that performance just purely because of the fact it was George Harrison's induction and Prince really did steal the show. But looking at him at his own shows and under these settings, you can really start to look at his playing and break it down and have a look at the level that he was at, because I think certainly with some of the stuff that I saw with that performance in particular, but also the other stuff that I've heard of Prince growing up and hearing those tracks that weren't just straight up blues, now having spent a lot more time looking at his playing, you can start to get a bit of a gauge as to where he was as a blues player and as a lead guitarist. And I certainly rate him a lot more highly now than I ever did when I was 17 or 18 or 19, when I was listening to other guitar players and trying to learn from them, like Hendrix and Vaughan and Satriani and Vai and the hard rock, all of those elements, Van Halen. Because I think I didn't listen as much to Prince because of just the nature of the style. Like I said, that he did move around the styles, whereas I just listened to guitarists that were known as hard rock guitarists or classic rock guitarists. So now being able to look through so much more of his material, and now on YouTube, of course, being able to see the live performances, you can really start to appreciate the level that Prince was at, and he was at the top level. But something that I do mention in the other video and is evident here is the way that Prince absolutely controls the band all the time. He's always showing them, giving them cues as to what he wants from them, and we will see that later on in this performance. But let's get back into it.
If you like to be alone.
I'm just going to jump in here, just a classic representation of that cue that he gives the band to absolutely bring everything down. And listen to the other instruments. Of course, the bass, you couldn't rewind this back to the beginning because the bass work is stellar throughout this whole performance. Also, the drums, I mean, that whole rhythm section is absolutely tight as you like for the whole performance. But the way they bring it down, listen to those drums, the way that we go from such a small place in a section like this to then such an open place and such a loud place dynamically. And I always say that that drum kit is the first port of call in dynamics, so you need someone on that kit who's absolutely in control the whole time. Getting into the lead, I mentioned the tone before, but just another word on that because it is so thick, and we've got that delay on there that's repeating 4, 5, 6 times maybe, just decaying into the distance. It's such a cool tone, that lead tone that he's got. But also the fact that we've got a lot of whammy bar work here as well, and the Floyd Rose bridge, which means that he can dive if he wants to, really changing the pitch, decreasing the pitch as far as he wants, but then also the way that he dives and picks before playing the notes, so it means that you get that nice ascension. It's a really subtle technique that Prince throws in quite a lot, and for most of the playing here in the lead, we're getting that really smooth, long legato sound to the runs that Prince is putting together, and he's combining that really well with the whammy bar, using that for vibrato as well. He is using on fret vibrato and isn't doing so much at the top of bends, but he's just going to that whammy bar for all of that expression. And I had an interesting comment on one of my other Prince videos when I said that Prince didn't have as much time to practice the guitar as other guitarists that you might find in the top 10 of these top guitarists of all time lists. And the reason that I say that is because it's just a fact. Because Prince, he played guitar, he played drums, he played bass, he played keys, and he sang. He had so much time on other instruments that would have had to have been designated practice, whereas a player who only plays the guitar and doesn't sing, doesn't play bass, doesn't play drums, doesn't play keys, they can spend their 6 hours a day just on that instrument. And I was saying that Prince spent so much time on other instruments that he didn't have as much time to practice guitar. Now, when you analyze that and break that down in terms of this performance to see where he is as a lead guitarist, you could say that arguably it's more impressive that Prince is at this level considering the amount of other things that he did on the side. And that's where you then start to analyze Prince as the overall artist, and you can say that he was pretty much without equal and is pretty much without equal because of all those other things that he did in terms of songwriting, singing, melodic ability on all of those other instruments. Let's quickly get back into it and see if we can finish off the track.
I like to watch television. If you like to be alone. Like to watch. If you want some good loving, baby. You want some good loving, baby. If you want some good loving, little girl, I'll give you all I got on the one. You got the time, baby. I got to ride high.
And there we have it. Another indication of the way that Prince is in control when he just says on one. He's just wanting the whole band to stop on the first beat of the next bar. And it's such a subtle thing, but it's so important to have somebody who's in control the whole time in order to put down a performance like this. And that's why Prince was one of the all-time entertainers and live performers, is because he had control of all of those elements. Everybody was looking for him in terms of all of those directions, and absolutely being tight as a nut the whole time, because you had to be if you're playing behind Prince, because you know that he can play your instrument. So if you're not up to scratch, then he will just get rid of you and get somebody who can play it the way that he wants it to be played. And there are quite a lot of effects in there, but Prince uses them sparingly and is really subtle with them. So when he does introduce them, it's just going to embellish the sound, and he's already got a great lead tone anyway. He's got sustain for days in there. We've also got the delay, and having that original tone, it means that when he then takes off that delay and rolls off a bit of volume and then applies another effect to it, it's going to just give a different take on what he's already been playing. And we've certainly got the wah-wah pedal in there, but also we've got, it sounds like the octave pedal as well, the way that without using the whammy bar, he gets that decrease in pitch that's really sudden. But all of the really subtle things that he throws in there, like at the end, just touching on the guitar, because we're in such a quiet place dynamically, you're just going to get a slight embellishment to the sound, something to listen to, even though it might be a really quiet touch on the strings and then a dive with the whammy bar. It's just these little things that fill in the space between the vocals. And again, right at the end, we had that matching of the vocal melody with the guitar lines. And it's something that happens a lot in the blues, where players, if they are going to be singing, they accompany themselves with the same line on the guitar. And when they don't do that, they're going to be playing either side of their vocal. You very rarely see a guitarist singing a melody line and then playing a different melody line on the guitar, unless it's a harmony line. They don't go off on one playing guitar and they're singing a different melody line. But this is a good one to look at, just because it really does showcase Prince as a blues player. The track is indicative of the blues anyway. It's the way it's been written, but certainly looking at those techniques and the way that Prince throws it all together so smoothly, and the fact that he's not repeating the same lines, and the expression that he gets with use of that whammy bar as well. But thank you so much for suggesting this video for me to take a look at, and keep those suggestions coming in the comments below. Let me know what you guys think, and if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe, and I'll see you guys at the next one. Rock!